Okay, so as we were saying, this is where we started. So for those of you who maybe are a little bit behind because you did not do this stuff that you were supposed to be doing when we worked together, you may not have this information, but we don't have time to go back and redo it. So how do you get the stuff that you're missing? Every single time I did a lesson, I always recorded it, and then it went onto the Google Classroom. And there was a little like category titled like recorded Google Meets, and it's in there, and it has the date, and I think I even put the lesson that it was recorded. So if you're missing any of this ever, or if I ever go too fast and like you didn't get a chance to get all the stuff that you needed, then that's where you then have to pull in some of that responsibility and get into the Google Classroom and get the stuff that you needed that way. All right? Because unfortunately, with all this craziness going on this school year, redoing lessons that were already taught is not a possibility. We don't have time for that. Okay? We have to stay on the course that we're on, and we have to just like keep moving with what's next. All right? So, just to kind of refresh your mind, because we started chapter 4 last week. So chapter 4, the first lesson, we learned how to do some division that had zeros at the end. So I want you to take a minute and kind of get yourself back to thinking about that stuff. And this is where we learned how to do some mental math. We learned how to do some division with not having to write it out, but by doing this mentally, okay? These are like time savers. It's good to learn how to do some math mentally, meaning you don't have to physically write it out. Because when you take tests that are timed, like those math tests, that you only had a certain amount of time to complete the entire test, I mean, it's good to have these little tricks in your back pocket of how to do some of this math quickly. So this lesson gave you some skill on how to solve some division problems in a really quick way, okay? Then we moved in to lesson 4-2, and 4-2 taught us how to do some estimating. But we didn't just use estimating with rounding. How did we learn to estimate? Anybody remember? What did we use to estimate? Shane?
Something number.
Yeah.
Compatible.
Compatible numbers, very good. I gotta turn this heat back on. I'm feeling a little bit cool in here. Are you all cold?
Yes.
No, it's not on. Yeah, I turned it off. But it's back on now. Okay. Okay. So, compatible numbers. Yeah, Shane's right. So many people, not many, I will say we had a splash of kids who, when I taught this lesson, they wanted to estimate by rounding. And I said, no, we're not rounding. We're using compatible numbers. Okay. So we had to learn what was a compatible number. So in your notes, we told ourselves that a compatible number are numbers that go together and can be used to estimate a quotient, which is the answer to a division problem. Okay? So again, a lot of this was probably new information, but it's already a lesson that we've already covered. So hopefully the majority of you are sitting in the crowd right now going, oh yeah, I know how to do this, okay? We practiced a couple of problems, but I want to get your brain moving and grooving today. So I want you to try a problem that I don't think we did together in class that day. So I want you to try this one, all right? So this particular problem is 4,813 divided by 68. Now again, the directions on this particular problem would say something like estimate using compatible numbers. You're not solving the answer to this. You're finding an estimated answer. But you're using compatible numbers to solve this. So the first thing we would have to do is what? Because this was a 2-digit number, first off, what do we call that 4,813? It has a math name. What's its math name?
It would be the dividend.
It is. It's the dividend. It's the number that's going to go inside the division box. So if you're one of those people in the crowd who just feels more comfortable, why will my pen not connect with anything? If you're one of those people in the crowd that feels more comfortable, I'm just gonna have to write it over here. By putting 4,813 inside the box, and you're gonna put the other number outside the box. What is 68 in this problem? What's its math term? What's it called? How? It's the divisor. That number is what's going to go on the outside of the box. And I don't want you to think, please don't think that like the big number will always go inside the box, all right? Because when we get into stuff like fractions and decimals, we're going to start to learn how to divide fractions and decimals, which right now sounds a little bit scary and intimidating, but you're going to get so good at this that you're going to notice that stuff's not really that hard, okay? But when you get into dividing fractions and decimals, the first number listed is not going to necessarily be the big number. It might be a smaller number, but it's still the dividend, okay? It's the number that goes in the box, all right? So, unfortunately, I can't set it up on the board over there, but I'm setting it up over here on our whiteboard, okay? Now, before I put my 68 outside my box, what did we learn when we did lesson 4-2? What did we learn that we do when we're playing with a 2-digit divisor? What should we do, Olivia? We do. I gotta estimate, I gotta round it, right? And I'm gonna round it to the nearest 10. So is 68 closer to 70, which is a 10, or is it closer to 60?
70.
It is. It's closer to 70. So now when I set this problem up, and you can kind of see that right here, now when I set this problem up, instead of putting 68 as my divisor, I'm going to put 70 as my divisor, okay? So 70 is going to go outside the box. All of you should be doing this with me, because this is not a problem that we did together in class last Thursday, or whatever day the last day, okay? All right, now to solve this thing, what are we going to do first? I need somebody in the audience who can talk me through what we're going to do first. Brandon, what are we going to do first, bud?
You want round 48 up to 49?
No. Well, yes. Why though?
Because 7 times 7 is 49.
Very good. So what he noticed is that the 7 is part of that 70 there. He's trying to see how many times 7 will fit into 48. And he realizes the 7 and 48 are not compatible. But 7 is compatible with a number that's really close to 48. And what number did you discover? 49. So he's going to change that 48 to a 49. And as we learned last week when we did this lesson, you can do that. You have the authority, the power to change a number when you're estimating. So I don't want you to think that you're breaking some kind of math rule because you're changing a number. If the directions are telling you to estimate, then you can do that. You can change the number to help give you a good estimate. All right, so Brendan, what are we going to do next?
You would, since it's 49 now, you would do 7 and then 49. So you put a 9 above the 9.
A 9? How many times will 7 fit into 49?
Oh, 7.
7, very good. Yeah, I know. And where am I going to put that 7?
Above 9.
Perfect. It's going to go directly above the 9. And keeping things lined up is critical, because especially when some of these division problems get bigger and longer, there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to have to keep lined up, okay? All right, so he kind of told us what to do first. Who wants to pick up where he left off? Rory, okay, what's next?
So you change the 1 and 3 zeros.
Yeah, we're going to change these things to zeros again, because we're estimating, and we know that when we estimate, it's easier to play with zeros at the end than it is to just keep those things as a 13. Question?
Oh,
No, you aren't. Well, hang on just a second. All right, so Rory, now that I have put those 2 zeros at the back, what's the next step?
You have to cross out a 0.
Why?
Because there's a 0 behind the 7.
So she's like, well, wait a minute. We haven't used this 0 on the outside of the divisor. We haven't used that 0 yet. And one of the things that we learn And if we have a 0 outside the box, it cancels out one of the zeros inside the box. So those zeros cancel each other out. And then what happens with that leftover 0, Rory?
So it is 70.
So your answer becomes 70. That's your estimated answer using compatible numbers. Now, obviously, if we were learning to estimate using rounding, we would probably get a different answer. So that's why I made it real important to say we're not learning to estimate here using rounding, we're learning to use compatible numbers. So, do you remember this lesson? I know there was a few of people who kind of, when they had the lesson that day, felt a little foggy with it. Do you feel better now? Perfect. Xander, yes.
The snack time still 10 o'clock.
10:30. Yeah. Okay, so now I think we're ready to move in to lesson 4-3. Okay, so wherever you're going to start taking these notes, let's move into the very next lesson that we are going to come across, which is lesson 4-3. And you can title today's notes, Divide by One-Digit Divisor. Now, what that title means, you now should be pretty comfortable with what a divisor is. A divisor is the number outside the box. Today in this lesson, the number outside the box, the divisor, is only going to be a one-digit number. So today we're not estimating. We're not going to be able to do this stuff today using mental math because today we have to actually solve, okay? So today we're looking for the real 100% correct answer, all right? And again, this I recall you all learning how to do this in 4th grade virtually with Mrs. Pops. But some of us may have checked out by then and we weren't being our best student at that time. So we're going to take this a little bit slower to make sure that we haven't forgotten how to do this stuff, all right? So the first thing I'm giving you is just kind of a recap of what like these math words are in a division problem, okay? So again, if you don't need this, don't worry about it, but if you keep forgetting which is which, then you might want to put this in your notes, okay? The dividend will always be the number that's inside the box. The divisor will always be the number outside the box. And the quotient is what's on the roof. That's our answer. So that's what we call the answer to a division problem.
I think the way to remember it, because whenever you say dividend, you kind of do your in at the beginning, at the end, so you just say dividend at the end.
That's exactly how I remember it too, Brennan. Yeah. I hear the word in, dividend, so my brain connects the word in with something that's in the box. And then for divisor, I like see the letter O there, and I think outside starts with an O, so I connect that as the number that's on the outside. Yeah, but that's a good little trick of way to kind of remember it. And then the quotient will always be the answer to your division problem. Okay, all right. Now what about this? What about this DMSBD thing? Have you seen it before? Some of y'all have. Addison, what do you think this thing means?
Divide, multiply, subtract, break down.
Yeah, it does. So she just pretty much told us what all of the math is being used with these letters. The D she referenced stands for divide. The M was multiply. The S was subtract. The B and the D bring down. Okay. Now, to kind of help you to remember the order of those letters, there's like a little saying that I think I was taught it when I was in grade school, and I still remember it today. And when I start to say it, you'll probably catch on. But the saying goes like this: does McDonald's serve burgers daily? So if you remember the little saying, does McDonald's serve burgers daily? Each of the letters in that saying, in that phrase, matches the order that you're going to do this division stuff in. Okay? So that's kind of a way to kind of think, what do I do first? What do I do second? So, and if you need, like on a test or a quiz, write DMSBD at the top of your paper as soon as you get it. Because it's kind of a little bit of a cheater, helps you to remember the order that you do things, and it's something that you can easily refer to kind of help you through solving some of these problems. So, yes, Brody. Do you have to go really bad, or can you hang on? You gotta go really bad? All right, go ahead. Okay, so let's look at a particular problem that's gonna have us work through how to divide, okay? So here's your problem. Everybody write this in your notes. Everybody has to have this in your notes because this is new information. We haven't done this yet. We're gonna learn how to divide, okay? So you have 6,500 divided by 8. Now, obviously, as you can see, the problem is written in sentence form. So in order for you to solve this thing, you're going to have to rewrite it, putting the dividend inside the box and placing the divisor on the outside. And now it's time to start to solve, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do, and I really wish I had my pen working. I don't know why my pen is not working. Hang on. The first thing that we're going to have to do is, hang on. I know I'm recording here, but I'm struggling to figure out why my pen is not working. Gosh. Okay, maybe, am I back? Exciting times, okay. Little things that make you happy. Okay, so what we're gonna end up doing here to start to solve this thing is we have to figure out what's the first thing we have to do. So let's put our little phrase at the top. Does McDonald's serve burgers daily? And we just were notified by Addison. She said that the D stands for division, the N stands for, the S stands for,
Subtraction.
And the B?
Bring down.
Okay. So she's kind of telling us this is the order that we're going to work things in, right? So who wants to take a guess at what's going to happen first? Allie, what's going to happen first?
Since 8 can't fit into 6.
Yeah.
We go to 64 to 65.
Perfect. Now, can I take a little pause for a second and ask you this, Allie? There's some people in the room right now that might be going, we can solve this one using mental math because it ends in zeros, right?
Yeah.
And what would you say to those people? No, they can't. Why can they not use mental math to solve this?
Because it 65, 8 can't fit into 65, so it'd be kind of confusing to do it in your mind.
Excellent. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yep. 8 is not compatible with 65, right? And if we change 65, then we wouldn't be solving, we would be estimating. And that's not what we're doing right now. We're solving. So,
change 65 to 6, you can do it in your head, right?
but that still isn't solving. That's estimating because you're changing numbers around. And we're not changing numbers. We're going to keep everything as it is, and we're going to walk through solving this thing. Okay? All right. So, Allie, going back to you. So you said 8 won't fit into 6, but it will fit into 65. How many times?
It would fit in 8 times.
It will. So this is where she's thinking in her head. I could see her brain in motion. She was thinking of her multiplication facts for 8s. And she was trying to figure out 8 times what will get me as close to 65 as possible. And the thing she has to remember is that the division rule for math, when you're really solving, you cannot go over. So if we're trying to see how many times 8 will fit into 65, you can't go to a number that's higher than 65. That breaks all the rules. When you're solving, You have to find a number that will get you as close to the number as you need without going over. So how many 8s would fit into 65 without going over? 8. Where's that 8 gonna go on my roof?
It's gonna go above 5.
It is. Why?
Because it couldn't fit into 6, so we had to add in the 5.
And we're gonna put it above. That's why the highlighted stuff here, James, I don't know that you're with me. I'm feeling like I'm losing you. And I know this is new information. So real important that you're writing what I'm writing and you're doing what I'm doing. But if you notice the highlighted notes on the screen there, it says make sure to always line things up. And that's a really important thing. Because when this stuff gets tougher, if you don't keep things lined up, everything's gonna start to get super messy and you're not gonna know what numbers go with what, and then that's when errors happen, okay? So, she said 8 will go into 65 about 8 times. So that is, sorry, I can't go that far. That's my division. Okay, she just did some division. Now the next step is to multiply. What is she going to multiply? Hallie, what's she gonna multiply?
8 times 8.
Yes, she's gonna multiply the number she just put on the roof by her divisor. What is 8 times 8, Hallie? 64. So I'm gonna put that 64 directly under the 65. All right, so we have taken care, I gotta move my screen, of our multiplication. The S says to subtract. Carson, what am I gonna subtract?
65 and 64.
What do I get when I subtract 65 minus 64? 1. Okay, that was pretty simple. I did my subtraction. Now it's my bring down part. What am I gonna bring down? Mason, what am I gonna bring down? I need something. You need to tell me I don't know. You need to tell me, well, these are the numbers we're playing with. 6, 5, 0, 0. We've already played with the 65. So take a guess on what number you think we might be bringing down. We've already used the 6. The 6 and the 5 are done. The 0. This 0 right here, it's time to involve him in our problem and bring him down. Notice how I drew that arrow? I really want you doing that. Because when these problems get bigger, this is considered an easy problem. When these problems get bigger and there's a lot more numbers inside the box, you're going to forget which numbers you brought down if you don't use that arrow. Okay? So he just brought down this 0, and now we have a 10. So my bring down is done. So now it means it's time to go back to the beginning and start over. Mason, you should be writing this in the notes. All right. So now we're starting over. Dominic, what am I going to do next? I'm at my D. It's time to divide again. What am I going to divide?
8 by 10.
I'm going to see how many times 8 will fit into 10. Remember, I'm still inside the division box here, people. It's just every time I do some work, I'm coming up with a new number that I'm dividing by. Okay? So, Dominic, how many times will 8 fit into 10?
Once.
Only 1 time. Where's that 1 going to go on the roof?
Next to the other.
It's going to go directly above the 0 that I just used. Okay? Next to the 8. All right, so he did his division. What's the M stand for, everybody? Multiplication. Lily, what am I going to multiply? Yep. Perfect. The number I just put on the roof by the divisor. 1 times 8 is what, Lily? 8. My 8's going to come down here. It's going to line up. Notice 8 it's in the ones place because it's a single digit number. So I'm going to line it up with the 0 in the ones place. So I did my multiplication. The S is time to subtract. Connor Lettieri, what am I going to subtract?
The 10.
And what is 10 minus 8, Connor?
2.
Perfect. So I've done my subtract. Now it's time to bring down. Connor Lettieri, do you see anything for me to bring down? Sorry, I meant Connor Grill. Sorry, but you're right, Connor Lettieri. What is it? The 0, very good. I still got the 0 up top here that I haven't used yet, so I'm gonna bring it down and put it next to my 2. So now instead of having a 2 in that box, I now have a 20. Connor Grill. Now I'm back to the beginning again, because every time I bring something down, it's time to start the process all over again. So Connor Grill, what am I gonna divide now? 8 goes into 20. How many times will 8 go into 20, Connor?
Twice.
It'll fit in there 2 times. Where's the 2 gonna go?
Below this down. One down, one up.
Yeah, remember, everything always lines up with whatever digit we're using. We're using this one right now, so the answer is gonna go directly above that. So your 2 is gonna go right on top of that. All right, so Connor Grill, we just divided. Now it's time to multiply. What am I gonna multiply, Connor? Remember, anytime I put a number on the roof, I'm gonna multiply it with the divisor. So 2 is gonna get multiplied by what? 8. What is 2 times 8? 16. My 16 comes down here. I'm running out of space. There's my multiplication. Now I'm left to my S, my subtraction. What am I gonna subtract, Emily? Speak a little louder, please. I'm gonna subtract 20 by 16, and what do I get? 4, okay? Now, up here at the top, where the S is, it says after you subtract, you're supposed to bring down. Do I have anything left in the problem, Emily, that I need to bring down? No, I don't. So guess what? At this point, the problem is technically over. Emily, so if this 4 is left here, what's it become? It does. This becomes my remainder, okay? Now, here soon, remainders are gonna go away, and we're gonna start having our remainders be our decimals, or be our fractions. Like if you ever type something in on a calculator, the calculator doesn't have a little R with a number after it, does it?
No, it's basically a bunch of random numbers. You go like.
That's when your decimals are generated, okay? So you will learn how to divide using decimals and how to divide using fractions. Eventually, this little remainder thing is gonna go away, and it's gonna turn into a decimal or a fraction. But for right now, we're in the baby steps of this, so we're gonna keep it as a remainder, okay? So the answer to this problem, which was 6,500 divided by 8, our answer is 812 remainder 4. Now, how can I check this thing? Xander, what can I do if I wanted to check to see if the answer I got was right?
You would take the divisor.
Which is 8.
Times the quotient.
I would take the quotient. So he said take the quotient, which is the answer, 812, and do what with it?
Multiply it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the opposite operation. That's how you always check. I always do the opposite to check to see. And I'm gonna multiply it, like he said, by the divisor. And when I do, I end up with 6,496, which is not the dividend. How come, Xander?
Because you still have that remainder.
I do, and what I gotta do with that remainder?
You add it.
Yeah, because it's extra stuff. So I'm gonna add that to that number that I just got, and when you do, check out what you get. 6,500, which is our dividend. So we know we're right, okay? This is called division with a 1-digit divisor, because the number outside the box is a 1-digit number, okay? So that's what it's all about, all right? Now, I want you all to try one, okay? What time is this class period? All right, we got a few extra minutes. So I want you all to try one, okay? The next thing I'm going to show you on the next screen is, okay. Please do not copy this down. You do not have to copy this thing down, okay? It might be a little bit difficult for y'all to see my numbers, so let me go over them, okay? I tried to go through and highlight the important information, because remember, whenever we're in word problems, the numbers are not just the important stuff, but the words that are inside of there are also important. So here's what the problem reads. It says, last weekend, 6,372 people attended a 3-day music festival. If an equal, and I highlighted that word because equal is an important word in a word problem. If an equal number of people attended each day, and each, it could sometimes say every day, like those are key words that you're gonna need to pay attention to in a word problem. How many people attended each day? So if this music festival lasted for 3 days, and a total of that many people went to the whole thing, and every single day the same number of people showed up, your job is to figure out, well, how many people showed up every day? So how are you going to set this problem up to solve it? Sophia, how are we going to set this problem up to solve?
6,327 inside the box. And then as a divisor, it would be 3.
Perfect. You all solve. Go. You tell me. Knowing what you now know, because we just practiced a problem a minute ago together, tell me how many people would be at each day's festival. You already got it. Now, I will tell you, as you're looking to solve this thing, I hope you're noticing what I noticed, which is that the 3 outside the box will fit into that 6 inside the box. Remember, we only use the first 2 numbers if it won't fit into the first number. Okay? And as you're solving this thing and working through it, you should recognize that when you're putting numbers on the roof, you should never put a number on the roof that's bigger than 9. Never should be a 2-digit number. If you think you should put a 10 on the roof, then you've made a mistake somewhere. Okay? You can put a 0 on the roof, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, or a 9, but you cannot put a 10 on the roof when you're solving. If you're estimating, you can, but not when you're solving. So think about your steps. Does McDonald's serve burgers daily? I see some of you working. I know some of you are already finished. And I see some of you staring at this page. The only way we get better at anything in life is by practicing. No matter what it is that you do. Shooting free throws, serving a volleyball, or working a math problem. You're not going to get better if you don't practice. All right, I know Shane Kitchen is finished. He was the first guy to get done. Some of you are still walking through your problem, but because we're running out of time, Shane, walk us through this thing. All right, so Shane, tell me, what am I going to do first?
So you see how many times 3 through 6?
Which is how many?
2.
Perfect. Where's
Put
it?
the 2 over 6.
Okay.
And then 3 times 2 equals 6. 600 and subtract it, which equals 0.
Okay, so far, everybody got what Shane's got. Check your process and make sure that what he's doing is what you've done. All right, now what, Shane?
Then you bring down the 3 times the 0. And 3 times the 3 equals 5.
Okay,
So 3 times 1 is 3. And subtract 6 is 3, 0.
perfect. Check your process again. Make sure at this stage you still are matching everything that he's done. Okay? If you aren't matching his process, there's going to be a mistake. Because in these problems, y'all got to notice there's multiplication, there's division, there's addition, and there's subtraction all in these problems. So there is so many places to make an error. Okay? But he's cruising right now. He's got everything right. All right, what next?
Then you bring down the 7. And 3 goes into 7 2 times. 3 times 2 equals 6. Subtract that equals 1.
Okay? So far, how are you? They're still with you, it looks like. Okay, keep on going. I'm running out of space, but I'm doing my best. Hang on, all right.
Then you bring down 2 and 3 So 12 4 times. Okay, 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract that to get 0. So there's no remainder.
Excellent. Beautiful. So he came up with an answer of 2,124. And when you think about a word problem like this, I mean, the word problem's asking how many people attended each day. If you have a remainder left over, could half of a person show up? No. So like that should tell you, wait a minute, you messed up. Yeah. Well, they wouldn't, if you're looking at a remainder, you're talking about a leftover. So it's like, there's really no way that like half of a person can be coming to the concert every day, right? These kind of problems are looking for a definite answer with nothing left over. So in this problem, 2,124. You can check to see if you got your answer correct by doing what Xander told us a second ago. Take your quotient, multiply it by your divisor, and if you do all of your math correctly, you end up with your dividend. Okay? Now, because our class is pretty much almost finished, I want to tell you what your assignment's going to be. I want you to practice on this tonight. Okay? Question Hallie real quickly. Yes. Hang on 1 second. Let's go. Okay. All right. So tonight, your assignment is going to be to complete workbook pages 53 and 54. All right. And notice you have to do all. All right. There's not an insane amount of problems on those pages. But it all is, what does it say? 2, 3, 4. It's all practicing division with 1-digit divisors. So it's what we did today in class that you're going to be doing tonight for homework. All right. So any questions or how does this feel? Pretty comfortable? Questions,
I
James?
don't feel like comfortable with it.
Well, part of that was I kind of lost you midway through. Remember how I had to kind of pull you back in? So what you might need to do, because I think I lost your focus a little bit during the class, what I think you might need to do, I'll put this video out there in the Google Classroom. Maybe tonight when you're getting into your work, watch the video again, okay? And I bet when you rewatch it, it'll click with you super simple, okay? Yeah. All right, okay.
Can we get our snack?
You may, go ahead.
Yay!